Okay, so what I'm going to do now is give you a demonstration on creating an original piece of artwork, keeping my lines per square inch to a minimum. I'm going to draw it relatively small, like I said, and after I do the line drawing of this, I'll blow it up and show you exactly how to make a stencil. Okay, so basically, I'm going to start off with just some general shapes, and I'm going to build it up and complete my piece. Now, what I'm going to be drawing today is basically just a character of a rooster. And so again, it's always a good idea to use a pencil, like I said, so that way you can build up shapes and kind of just play with the flow of things and your line direction and whatnot, and erase it if need be. So it's a much freer way to draw and a lot easier. And what I'm doing now is just giving them a little eyeball. Now, a lot of people are very specific about the type of pencils and drawing material and paper and whatnot that they use. And, in my opinion, I kind of just use the tools at hand. If if I happen to have a standard number 2 pencil in front of me, then that's what I'll use. And right now, I'm using a mechanical pencil. Honestly, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's just preference, Some people feel more comfortable with something, some people don't. So again, it's just like with tattooing. It's pretty much something that you just gotta, just play around with. Explore all your options, use as many different tools, as many different techniques as you can, until you find something that works good for you, and then stick with it. But you'll never know until you try it. And again, this design is just something I'm just kind of just freehanding, just making it up just to give you an example. Now, as you can see, like I was explaining before, about the size of the piece. When it's all said and done, this piece is probably going to be about 4 inches, roughly, give or take, in height. And even with the standard size sheet of paper, when you start to do stuff that's relatively large and taking up the whole thing, which doesn't seem that big offhand, but when you start doing it, again, your proportions, your eye tends to focus on, a couple inches squared, and if you're drawing something over here, you're not really able to focus on what's going on over here. So what happens is you tend to have the outcome is a drawing that's slightly distorted in some areas, and basically it just gives you another step that you have to tweak and work with, and it ends up taking a little longer than necessary if you just draw it small and again just blow it up on the copy machine. It's very easy to do. As you can see, I'm kind of doing the initial shapes and design of this relatively free. I'm not really focusing too much on getting all my lines exactly perfect and squared away in the right spot. One, it's just a lot quicker to rough the shape out and piece it all together. And two, you have to keep in mind that you do have to make a line drawing, so you will be tracing all of this again with a felt tip pen. So it's kind of pointless to do it too insanely detailed initially, because you're going to have to do it all again in a couple minutes anyway. normally when you're doing custom pieces like this, you would see a whole slew of notes and whatnot about little size cues as far as, you know, details and whatnot. And so being that this piece isn't for any particular client or anything like that, I'm just kind of doing a very free, rough version of this, just for an example. So that's why you don't see all my little notes about little details here and there on it. Okay, so this is roughly, it's pretty much about all you need right there to work with. You can fine tune a little bit. Okay, now as far as the actual pencil part of the drawing goes, this is pretty much complete. Although it's still got some rough edges, you got to keep in mind this is going to be thrown on the light table and it's going to have to traced over again. So pencil part of it's done, and I'm going to go ahead and move on and show you how to do this on the light table.